Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Tom's Corner, where you can hear the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God. Topic of our lesson today, and this is the title. Another example of greater love. And I think in one of our last sessions, we talked about, is there a love that you can have towards a man or a woman that is greater, higher, and in a spiritual realm than a physical, bodily relationship. Set it up. 1 Samuel 25:2. And there was a man in Maon whose possessions were in Carmel, and the man was very great, and he had 3,000, listen to this, 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats. And he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. All right, now, number 3. Now, the name of the man was Nabal. And the name of his wife was Abigail. And she was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance. Notice what it said here, a beautiful countenance. You know what that means? Not only was she beautiful from the inside, but she was beautiful on the outside, okay? But the man was cherished. And some of you can look that up. That's how I never did. In other words, I'm going to interpret this, simplify it. He wasn't no good, okay? See how easy it was? Just set it out right. And in his doings, he was, how shall I say, evil? Okay. Now, let's go on. 4. And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear sheep. Okay? And he knew the amount also. 5. And David said, see, David was in the wilderness. And he was fighting for his life. And he had men that followed him, a lot of men. And number 5, and David sent out 10 young men. And David said unto the young men, get you up to Carmel and go to Nabal and greet him in my name. Number 6, and thus shall ye say to him that liveth in prosperity, peace be both to thee, and peace be to thine house, and peace be unto all that thou hast. This was the message to Nabal. Number 9, and when David's young men came, they spake to Nabal, according to all those words in the name of David, and they ceased. Number 10, here's why I said he was no good. Number 10, and Nabal answered David's servants and said, who's David? He knew who David was. But you know how a lot of people, well, who do you think you are? Who's David? And who is the son of Jesse? He even knew that Jesse was his daddy. So what he was doing, like, they ain't nobody to me. Just like you do to people sometimes. He ain't worth living. I don't know him. I don't know him. Yeah. Number 11. Shall I then take my bread and my water? Notice what he starts out, my. And that's the way a lot of you are. My. And forget the fact that God gave it to you. All it takes is one sickness, and you lose everything you got. That's why we cry to God, we praise God, and we thank God for the health that he's given us, okay? Now, listen to this part. Shall I take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed for my shearers and give it unto men whom I know not whence they be? I don't know these people. I don't know. You ever heard that before? You know why? You don't give a squat about nobody but yourself and your own family, immediate family. You know that? That's like we're still talking about this food drive. All you want to do is run in and grab all you can get for your family. You don't give a squat about nobody else's family, but you care about yourself. And I'm going to take care of what? Number one. That's the way it always. Hey, you better come off of that. You may not be around to be able to eat your next meal. And believe me, we're finding people are passing in our community that don't have a next meal. Number 14. But one of the young men told Abigail. Okay, now one of the shearers out there. And Nabal's wife, saying, behold. That's who, and I'll read it again, clarified. Young man told Abigail, remember again, Nabal's wife, saying, behold, David sent messengers out to the wilderness to salute our master, and he riled on them. He came out beseeching that they might be able to help them because they were in more or less a starvation mode. They had really nothing much to eat. And David was being humble. He figured maybe they could give us something, help us out a little bit. All right, 15. But the men were very good unto us. This is what the servant said. Nabal's servant said. And we were not hurt. They didn't hurt us in any way. They didn't do us wrong. They just came out and they saluted and gave an address and asked if they could maybe help them a little. Okay? Now, therefore, know and consider what thou wilt do. For evil is determined against our master. In other words, once the word goes back to David, and David started arming himself because it made him angry to think here, this man was living in wealth and a rich man that he couldn't give a little bit to his own men. And they were already starting to gird up, getting their swords, slapping them and getting them in there because they had the intention, David had the intention because of this man's attitude that he was going to kill everything they had. Think about it. When you don't respect people and give kindness to people when they come to you in a kind manner, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how they're going to react to that. And maybe they'll turn against you and kill everything you got. Now therefore in 17, know and consider what thou wilt do. The servant is talking to Abigail. For evil is determined against our master and against all his household. For he is such a son of Belial that a man cannot speak to him. In other words, he thinks he's number one. He don't need you, and he has the attitude, hey, puke on you, get on down the road. Go on down the road, starve to death. Somebody asked you, is there any way that you could give me a little bit of food? I'm not asking for money, but could I get a little bit of food so I can get farther down the road? Maybe I can get a job. And you look at him and say, get on out of here. I ain't got no time for you. Think about it. Think about it. 18. But Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves and vessels of wine and 5 sheep already dressed, and 5 measures of parched grain, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on the asses. Now, number 19 says this, and she said unto her servants, go on before me. Behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband, Nabal. Now, listen to this. Please note, while David and his men were in that area, they watched over Nabal's sheep and not one was lost. How many know with a herd that big, you might be losing one sheep a night or more? But while David was there and his men were there, they spent rows and rows around these sheep so that the wolves could not come in, or the enemy bears or anything could come in and attack those sheep. They were protected. And Nabal's servants were at peace with these men. Now, 23, and when Abigail saw David, she hastened and lighted off the ass and fell before David on her face and bowed herself to the ground. All this she did without the consent of Nabal, because she knew Nabal was too stupid and ignoramus with pride and so forth, like who he was, that she knew that Nabal had placed the sign of death on himself and his people that was with him. Number 24, and fell at his feet and said, upon me, my Lord, upon me, let this iniquity be. She was willing to take the burden off of that worthless husband and let the anger rest on her, because she knew he was wrong. And she knew she couldn't tell him he was wrong, because he would have probably slapped her down and everything and thrown her in the room, locked her up. She, keep your mouth shut, woman. This is my business, because I'm the head of this house. Sometimes men are not fit to be head of anything. Did you know that? And my daddy would call them stoopmos. So remember that word, stoopmo. That's what you are if you think you're up there crowing around and how big you are and you ain't got a pot to wee-wee in, okay? Okay. Fell and said upon me, oh, let it be. This is, okay, upon me. Let this iniquity be, and let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak in thine audience, and hear the words of thine handmaid. She was pleading the case. 25, let not, my Lord, I pray thee, regard this man of Belial. In other words, daddy's name was Belial, and Nabal's name, Nabal was the son, even Nabal, as is his name, and folly is with him. Folly is with him. Total stinking stupidity is with him. But I, thine handmaid, saw not the young men of the Lord, whom thou didst send. The 10 that came, she didn't get a chance to see them or meet them, but they went directly to him. Okay? 28, I pray thee, forgive the trespass of thine handmaid. She's taken the burden. She's taken the plea. Taking it, trying to save her people, even that worthless husband. Now 35, so David received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said unto her, go up in peace to thine house. You can leave. I won't do it. Because of you, I won't do this, because you're willing to come here and ask forgiveness on his behalf. I'm not going to come up and kill everybody. Think about that. Think about that. Now, in 38, it tells us this, and it came to pass after 10 days. Think about this. After 10 days, Nabal went and had him a big drunken party and had a big party and stuff. His wife refused to tell him what she had done. But after he got sober, she told him. You know what happened to him? Man, that dude, it said, fell like a stone. He died of a heart attack. Right there. Boom, gone, dead. You know why? Because he knew if David caught him, he was a dead man over that deal of showing his hind end. Okay? And it came to pass in that day after the Lord smote Nabal that he died. We're talking about this. There was a transition there. And he died. Now listen to this. 39, in this verse it states that after Nabal was dead, and this was a 10-day period after he was dead, after Nabal was dead, David sent and communed with Abigail to take her to him to wife. I want you to stop there a minute and think about that. Verse 41 and 42 tells us that Abigail's answer was yes. Now you say to yourself, wait a minute, why did he do that? He did that for one reason. He also took, I think I'm right, read it, that he also took 2 of the maidservants to marry them too. And why he did it was this. He saw a woman that was willing to save others and lose her own life. Understand what I'm saying? And I believe that it amazed him so much that this woman, he loved her. And I'm talking about agape love again, greater love than for a woman. He loved her. And he felt so much compassion of what she did and the 2 servants with her that he took them as wives, that they would no longer have to suffer while living on this earth, that he would put them in royalty and treat them as such, as queens. It wasn't a sexual thing. It was true love, just like Jesus did for who? And I'm saying it again, greater love hath no man that he laid down his life for a what? Friend. And he looked at them and he said, I no longer, he said, I look at you as my friends. You'd do that for your family, then why can't you lay down your life for somebody else that needs so much help, huh? At least try to help others. God bless. I'll see you the next trip.